Throughout this presentation, you will hear us refer to Osho. And is Osho really referring to one, Osho himself, Sundar's guru? Two, is Osho reincarnated as the Osmo action camera? Or three, is Osho the spiritual name given to the Osmo action camera? For the answer to that question, you'll have to watch this and make the decision yourself. Are we all in now?
Yeah. Okay, let's say hello.
Hello.
Good morning, camera.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, world. We are witnessing the most amazing phenomenon. Okay, we want to show what are we witnessing. One, two.
Everybody, anticipation. Dun, 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 dun.
Turn the camera. Okay, that's what we are looking at.
Everybody like, and what are you looking at?
There's a sun coming up in a while. Oh wow, I like this. So the question is, what is a thought?
What is a thought?
Yeah, let me introduce this question. We will go in a flow, like everybody will take a minute. Like we are not going to, it's not like what is right, what is wrong. You're just sharing our thoughts about thought.
Thoughts about thought.
So first, when I asked this question to Blue,
Me,
wearing a blue jacket,
in case you're wondering.
she said it's a manifestation of the energy, but we are going more into details. Like, yes, everything is a manifestation of the energy, but what is the form of a thought? What is the characteristic of a thought? Where does it come from? What is its nature?
Yes.
So, open your eyes. So, who's gonna go first? Rawaz, you're the most sleepy one.
So much in touch with the subconscious at this point.
Oh yeah.
Still up.
Yeah, knee deep in the subconscious. Sure. I'm thinking of babies and how, like, before we learn how to, what words are and how to have a voice inside our heads, we also would have thoughts as babies, but they'd be in the form of cries or screams or laughs, or in angst, like we want to be away from something, we want to be close to something or someone, and those are our thoughts mainly, and food and such. But we're having them, but we don't have any left brain vocabulary to start speaking, and then at one point we have words, and the words start speaking to us. So yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Who wants to go next?
So it's interesting. It's almost like a dialogue with words.
With the world.
The words.
With words and the development of thought, and from emptiness to something that now enters into the mind. This what we call vocabulary, I guess. Labeling things. And developing habits around that kind of labeling, and as a form of understanding and a form of communicating. But what comes before that, really? Okay, now that we've progressed to acquire vocabulary, it's interesting because people's thoughts and feelings are affected also by the language they speak. And when we switch languages, we have different feelings associated often with those different languages, like a different form of expression, different way of connecting with people, allowing our own voice to come forth. And all that sort of like impacts our thoughts, that the tonalities of words and of accents emit different feelings and actually might inspire different feelings and expressions. But the thought, before the thought, the feeling before the thought, before the words. So, in a way, thought is not only awareness, but it's an expression of feeling, of understanding that might go deeper than just a mental calculation. It might be more of a expression of the whole body and from the heart to, I mean, even if you have a pain in you, you say ouch, you know? It's like an expression. You don't even really think too much about saying it. It's just like a reaction. Maybe that is more of a reaction. Is it a thought or a reaction? Or a little bit of both. But it comes from that pure place of feeling that gets expressed into a thought and then expressed into a word. And I guess the quickest way of tapping into that is the subconscious, which is really tied, I think, a lot with feeling. And yeah.
Do you want to go there?
Yeah. I think I'm thinking, wow, how it was before we actually start, like the whole process of thought started. Something where it's, so there was an intention first, and then the thought. Right before thought, there's intention always. We're not always aware of that. And so the thoughts are like a breath, like blood flow. It was given to us to survive, for some reason, right? And then it turned into the mind become lost its discipline, maybe. And we became not a victim, but some of us actually are a victim of our thoughts, right? So yeah, there's something happened where we start losing ourselves in thoughts. So yeah, I think the thoughts are just like our mind is not all the time, not 24/7, but just there for right time, you know, like a process in the body.
Very nice. I have a similar view about this. Like as Rawad was telling, as a child is growing up, we start to develop different organs in the body. Like we start to, first the heart comes, as they say, and then the different organs, then the hair, then you get your nails, all these things. And when the baby is born, when she's out of the stomach, I'm thinking from my memory, I don't remember many of my first year, I don't remember any of this. So because my mind was not developed yet by then. So at some point of time, like the hair starts growing, this feature called thought starts growing, but it's invisible part of us. Like every organ has a purpose, the thought also has a purpose. The thought makes us evolve, it makes us create. So to me, thought is a power, is a power of being human. And I ask myself, is it always necessary to be with a thought? Like I use my hand when I want to grab something. I use my legs when I walk somewhere. Do I have to use my thought all the time? Or is there a specific purpose for the thought? But now looking at the current state of thought process, it is always going on. It's buzzing all the time. So a thought has its utility, which is the gift of the creation. But at the moment, a thought has become more of a high maintenance, because it's kind of in its dysfunctional mode, I would say. That's for the thought. Food for the thought.
Now you tell us what you think about the thought, yeah?
Okay, you tell us what you think about the thought. When I read this, Osmo action, I read like Osho action. What the hell is this? Like, oh my God.
Yeah, it does look like Osho.
Yeah, it might be related at some level. Osho's talking to us.
Namaste, Osho.
That's the satsang, that's the satsang. He's the one.
So, and taking it a little bit further, are we, like, I'm enjoying my hands, of course I cannot do anything without my hands. I enjoy my my body, I enjoy my skin, I enjoy my the senses. Are we enjoying our thoughts? Are we suffering because of our thoughts? Like the enjoyment, let's say, thought, imagination. Okay, you can imagine certain things, and then you feel really good about that. Or you can imagine that something's bad gonna happen, and they can suffer because of that. So, what is the right use of the thought? What?
Well, if we look at the fourth dimension of time, right, and things running along the dimension of time over a course of period, and our thoughts over that course of periods, and how that creates patterns of thought, rather than just this one moment we have a thought. Well, over time, it's like having grooves in the brain we have, or and throughout our body, a certain type of thought that predominates. What is that thought? What is that? And what they've seemed to say in some of the research with the brain is that whatever that dominant thought pattern is,
Enjoy.
and then if you want to see what's in the screen, there's a button on the side. If you just press it down, like for a second, you'll hear like
On
a
the screen.
sound. Yeah, right there, right there.
This one.
It's just, yeah, there you go.
Wow.
So, Grania, do you have any thoughts on thought?
Oh, that's a nice title. Do you have any thoughts on thought? What do you think about thought? Oh, this is beautiful. No?
Oh, we all went. We all
really?
we all talked. So it's actually your
Yeah,
story.
the mic is yours.
Great.
Boom, spotlight.
Okay. I like what the spotlight was on the sun.
Let's sing a song to the sun.
Here comes the sun.
It's like, here I am.
Sun.
Here I am.
It's alright. Da, 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 da.
What do you call sun in Irish?
Green.
Green?
Green, yeah.
Grian.
Green.
And you?
Солнце. Солнце.
Sonsam.
Солнце.
Sonsa.
It's like
Rawad in
sunset,
Arabic?
but you can't say it
Sunshine.
properly.
Shams. Yeah, Shams.
Spanish
Sun.
is sol.
Sol. Suraj.
What is it in Japanese?
Suraj.
I don't know.
Surya. Surya.
Surya.
Surya.
La
Suraj.
máscara.
Surya.
Who says Surya? Because that's in
Hindi.
Madhya de Silva. Oh,
Hindi. Surya. Surya Namaskar.
So, Blue,
Mhm.
how many colors are in the rainbow?
Is it? He's checking. I think it's 7, isn't it?
Yeah, but for you.
Oh, okay. What do you mean?
No, just what do you,
I-
like, what's your answer?
Oh, you see, like the mind said 7, but what do you mean? Like how many I see?
Mhm.
Do you really want to know?
Mhm.
I don't know. I never counted. Maybe I should count next time.
So, actually, because I read something, because you were saying, Mark was saying something about the words and how the language that we end up using for our thoughts affects the kind of thoughts we express, right?
That's the I'm sorry, the side button right there. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I read something that said that in Russian culture, apparently they're taught to see 2 different kinds of blue, so they see 8 colors in a rainbow.
Oh no, I never heard about it before.
Oh, I didn't hear about
No.
that. It's interesting.
No.
You can maybe sneak up.
You okay?
So maybe in some parts of that country. So,
well,
mm.
all the colors in the rainbow are in nature.
A little bit to the side because there's much.
Yeah, but it's just like it's like
But it's not. I think
Culturally
it's the
influenced.
hue, the color hue, rather than a different
Osho
color.
cannot see you.
Sorry, Osho.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know. I don't. I mean, I cannot confirm.
Can you
But I
pop
mean,
out?
if there are 7 colors in the rainbow, which is effectively diffracted light.
Yeah.
So the rainbow's white.
Wow. Should we-
Actually, but they are the colors. White is not a color, and black is not a color. These are tones. Well, black's a tone, and white is the collection.
How many colors do I see in the rainbow?
But I have counted.
You have counted. You had time
I have
to count.
counted.
Well, yeah. Like, so, what I read was he said that because of the cultural, like they're raised to sort of to see a different blue. So when they look at the rainbow, they see another.
No, definitely.
Is
I
it?
remember in school they always told us 7 colors. But if you see now how many shades of blue here in the sky.
But
Wow.
that is the
What-
that's still blue, but it's the hue of blue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I know like they sell like, you know, in painters palettes Russian blue.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I've never heard about it before.
Russian blue.
Yeah.
It's like a grayish blue. It's sort of like maybe a long coat
Interesting.
blue. You know, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
what it is.
I wonder, and it just I mean, I don't know which aspect, because Russia is humongous, so it's quite tribal. There's a lot of tribes all over the place in Russia, like, you know, depending on the region that you're in. So I wonder if it's more like a Sami education or appreciation of the word blue. For example, the word snow by the Inuits has its vast
I read about that.
dictionary. And you've got the Inupiaks and the Aleutians, that's on the northern aspect, on the Siberian crossover, the Bering Strait. And then you've got Kamchatka and all these areas.
Kamchatka.
Did I say it wrong?
Kamchatka.
Still cold.
I wanted to go there. I had a trip planned.
Kamchatka? Oh my gosh,
Yes.
yeah, the sunrises are so beautiful.
Yeah,
there. Why not see them
I've
often,
obviously never been, but my plan was to travel via Japan on a ferry.
you're on a TED
there.
Talk,
But
okay.
anyway.
though? Excuse me, we
Hang on a minute, I was on a roll.
Sorry, you're gonna say how to make an omelette, you know, like my omelette, my own omelette, sunny side up, you know. But I read that what you said, you know, like when you go to the northern pole, the people living there, for them snow has 19 types of snow, you know, like we go there, we just see snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
For them, they see varieties of snow.
But
I
it's the
know
same
it's,
with
it's
rain.
white snow and yellow snow.
Avoid the yellow snow.
What is the yellow snow? I don't know both.
Yellow snow is pretty much where someone went to the bathroom.
Yeah, eeks. Delete. Oh, sure, don't record.
What is the yellow snow you wanted to know? You really genuinely thought it's something, yeah?
When we went to Himalaya, you see all the snow with the black on it, you know, like with the pollution.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
So, like in Ireland, we don't have one type of rain. We have many different types of rain, and it decides where if we're gonna go out or not. But it never stops us anyway, because we usually have to get out the door and get to A or B. So.
Should we continue recording or should we?
Whatever you guys like to do.
I mean, it's a lot of work again. You go back home. Like,
a lot
Put the
more,
delete.
lot more to,
okay,
you know. I
let's
guess
say.
edit. Now, everybody
If you want to
had-
do your qigong, you know, you can.
Did everybody have a chance to
Speak?
say what they wanted
I think
to
the
say?
question
Yeah.
was really interesting, the one you asked, like, how do you know when to use the brain? Yeah, that's the
Not the
whole-
brain, thought.
the-
Sorry, just bringing to the topic. Brain, we are
Bring
going
back
technical.
When to use the thought, yes.
Yeah.
And have we finished talking about it, Mark? Because we started sunset and sunrise.
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm
Well,
good on
wait,
this
you said I could speak.
Yes, we
Now we know the question.
Okay, then I put a timer.
can talk
Everybody speaks for 2 minutes. Yeah.
Where are you putting a timer? You talk for 2 hours.
It's the OSHA camera. Everybody can talk as long as they want.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, let me see. I haven't formulated anything.
What is the right usage of thought?
When do you know how to use it? Yeah.
When do you know that? Okay, just to give it a little bit of introduction, what you like? I'm sitting with my hands on. I use my hand if I want to grab the sand, or if I grab your hair, like something. But if my hand is going on its own all the time, it looks very weird. So in the same way, if we have your thought, when do we use the thought? When we should not use the thought? Which is the right usage, which is the wrong usage,
Well,
or when we call it as a function or dysfunction.
okay, when you're functioning, for example, I need to drive from A to B. I need to use appropriate thought processes to enable that functional thought, to enable me to actually manage my car. Or
Right.
to get, and often that can be an auto response through memory. Like, for example, someone pulls out in front of me, I know automatically I need to brake, or react in an appropriate way to avoid any collision. When to use thought, work, when you put your focus on the actual task, because that's what I'm there to do, that's an appropriate use of thought. When you start to get attached to other things that don't serve you, for example, there's drama happening outside the door that you don't necessarily have to buy into, but that you get sucked into, then that could be an inappropriate, that can engage in inappropriate thought processes. Or alternatively, if you are aware, if you have the sense of awareness, you can acknowledge, yes, there's drama outside my door. You can witness it, but not get sucked into it. So it's all about awareness, awareness of thought, understanding when to attach and when not to, and being a witness and an observer is quite a powerful technique, because it helps you to intelligently respond to different situations and to know when to respond or how to respond. Whether it's holding space for someone, or observing something unfolding in front of you, or whether or not, thought works on memory. So if you have an emergency response that you need to give in a situation where survival is important, and say we're on the mountains and we need to figure out how to we're lost, and we need to figure out how to get from A to B safely, then going into autumn, and if you have your survival instinct can kick in. So I don't know the science from how the brain works in that sense, but it's using memory, instinct, and common sense to be able to know, well, let's take shelter in this cave until the storm passes. Let's it's really hot right now, I don't have enough water. Let's sit in the shade behind a rock until the sun is cooler so that we can make our move. Let's head down and follow. Use use the nature to be able to guide you down. Some of this is basic instinct that you may not have. Some of it's learned, some of it's taught to you. Maybe you've done a course, or you've done experience. When you've done a lot of hiking, you start to understand how the land you know, is to know what path to take down and when, you know, and what path to avoid and things like that. So those are different examples of when you should use thought and when you shouldn't use thought.
Thank you.
2 minutes?
For thought.
2 minutes past.
Was it at the back of your head? Oh my gosh, I might over it.
But I'm actually quite interested in the words to thoughts from a tribal perspective. It's just making me think about how people witness or how people see see the planet, see
But what,
the
let's
world.
be specific about, you know, what we're talking about. Okay, there are different uses of thought, but when we are talking about like particularly, you know, like when a thought comes, what is the right usage of the thought? You know, like when do we use it? The right way of using it and not using it. You know, like do's and don'ts.
What I think is if you
Let's pass on to someone. Yeah.
nah. Hang on a minute, I slept through the first half.
Everybody gets a chance.
It's my show.
Push everybody.
Let me tell you something.
The O show.
It's my show. It's our show.
Listen, show. It's my show.
People behind the camera have no idea what we're talking about. You know?
Yeah.
You should mention that in the notes. You know.
Responsibility of words. I'm getting in there. While you're distracted, I'm getting in there. Responsibility of words
We'll make a.
can inform thought processes as well, or maybe it's the other way
Let's speak
around.
from our experiences. You know, when
Well,
it
I'm
makes
going
it
to
more.
speak from my experience.
When we come again. When do you realize, okay, I'm using my mind or the thought correctly, or when is there a way I can realize, oh no, I'm doing it wrongly, you know, like does it make sense? For example, I'm sitting here in the desert. If I start thinking about all the possible things that's gonna go wrong, I have this power, and I can imagine. I can sit here and I can imagine what happens if a snake comes. What happens if something else comes? You know, well, of course it makes sense because I have to be careful, but that brings me a lot of anxiety, worry, or I can sit about and think about what are the possible things I can do. Maybe, you know, maybe I have a plan here to make a resort. You know, like imagine, I'm using my imagination again to make this place. Maybe I can bring a swimming pool here. You know, I wanna. So I'm just still using my thought. So one aspect of the thought is bringing joy to me. The other aspect of thought is making me worry. So how should I be using it? Whether I should be, is it necessary right now? Should I be thinking about all these things? You know, first of all, one way is nice. The other way is giving me unpleasant emotions. Is it, for me, it's like, are both necessary, or I can just drop it right now? I don't need to use my mind at all. I can just be here. I can enjoy what's happening in this moment. You see?
Is it not down to intent, somewhat? For example, if you're visualizing a resort to say in this setting to create a resort with beautiful amenities, and you know, in order to want to visualize that, you may very well have an intent to enable that. That's something else. But if you're talking about fear, thought process, considering different fears or different things that could go wrong, well, then is it real? Is it really real? And then that's, you know, it's about interrogating yourself.
Let's take it like a case study, you know. We gave two scenarios here. One scenario is about projecting thoughts to make this place a more memorable experience. One is projecting the thoughts to think about all the weird things that might happen. Okay, so this is like a case study. Should I be using my mind in this way, or should I be using my mind that way? For a fearful person, of course, you know, you have to think about all the things that could go wrong. Otherwise, the survival is at stake. For a creative person, okay, if you go in that direction, you can spend all your life, but you'll never bring anything in here.
I think it has to do a lot with where we're at, right? So, like going back to sort of like the Osho theme of, you know, being there to, I guess, play, right? Or just being present.
Mm.
And
We're coming to you.
Yeah,
as
we're
well.
going there.
if we're allowing ourselves to using things for our maximum benefit, whatever that benefit is or our perceived benefit, then wherever we are at that moment in our evolution and our understanding is exactly where we need to be.
And that's what the
Oh.
trust, yeah.
Snap.
Yay! Yes, we all did that.
And if we're like, let's say if we are in a war zone or something like that, maybe, you know, the survival thing has to be more active.
Right.
Though maybe transcending that fear is also a form of protection. So, you know, when we look at people that are in like a combat situation, when they transcend their fear, they often do amazing things. That doesn't mean that they don't get killed. They do get killed, but a lot of them also are able to survive because they're not buying into the same survival fears that would create a predictive behavioral pattern that is maybe easier to kill somebody, right? Somebody acts against the norm and does something that's totally out of the battle plan or something like that, that might also create initiative and surprise the other side, right? So it's interesting because it's like in life, if we don't accept the current narrative and we can rise above it, sort of like when we were talking about having peace versus as a way of having security as a form of having peace. If we just choose to have peace, is that a way of just being more secure anyway? And we attract the situations around us that will make us more secure. And that evolution of choosing that is different for everybody at that point, where we have that self-confidence and that self-understanding of the world as we know it, to choose that positive path despite the circumstances.
I like the example I think Eckhart Tolle was talking about. He never prepares for his events, and he only when he's on the stage, that's when the thought process starts of what he's going to talk about. He never prepares. He never, okay, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna do that. And there's no need for that because he's in the moment most of the time, and there's a lot of trust, right? Yeah, and that's what we lost somewhere, and that's where we got lost in the thoughts. So practicing, again, we're going back to meditation. Yeah, the more we practice, why meditation is so important, because we practice that presence in the moment, and then the practice becomes our reality. We don't need to practice, it becomes our life. Yeah, there's no effort anymore, and there is no question anymore if that's the right thought or wrong thought. It just is.
I like what you said also, Mark. You know, we are where we are meant to be. You know, we humans have this gift of creating. No other animal has this. So we are creating so many things on this planet. We are making our life more sophisticated. We are making our life more comfortable. We are prolonging our life. But the life as it is itself is beautiful. You know, the primitive way, the primal way itself is beautiful. But because we have this ability to create, we are creating, going on creating. This is why I feel like iPhone 4 came. Now it's iPhone 12, 13. What is lacking in iPhone 4, we have come this far. And would we stop at 10 point? You know, if the growth is continuous, and if the growth, like for example, if you see the planet, it's maintaining an organic unity, you know, like something grows, something dies. It's maintaining a balance, it's sustaining itself. But if the growth is happening, but it's not maintaining itself, like we are continuously going, we call this as a cancer. It's a cancerous growth. At some point, we will definitely suffer because of our growth. For example, if my fingers are growing all the time, yeah, my hair can grow, but hair falls. You know, it maintains certain balance. So we have this mind which can create, and we are in a place where everything is already nice and beautiful. So it comes to the point, what is the actual usage of mind. Why we have been given this gift of a mind? What is the actual purpose, or what is the like using the mind for creating is one thing that we can do. We are using your mind for research. We are investigating. We are thinking where we are, where we came from, where we are heading to. We are thinking about other planets. We are inventing tools to find out, you know. So what do we think is the right purpose of the mind? I mean, it's a very broad question, and no answer is. It's all subjective answer. You know, we are not. But still, we are talking from this point. You know, what do we think? Come on, Grania, fire.
I'm not thinking right now.
This is where you meant to think.
Is there what is right, and is it really, is there a right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it or just is?
Yeah.
Now, or are we talking about, is it more of a positive, you know, direction for oneself, and what we create? Gosh, it's such a limitless thing when you think of all the uses. It's like a Swiss Army knife. You know, you have all these different purposes, right, for the mind. So it's really that's where the individual choice comes into play, you know, in the world. I think that's a certain level of self-determination that we have and we're born with. And there's a certain, obviously the environment affects that, but at the end of the day, we're choosing, you know, what, to a certain extent, we have some choice in that. We don't always have that choice, or some people have developed more choices and maybe a stronger will to go through a determination. But yeah, it's like the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
But I think creation is important.
Is it important or is it essential?
Is it essential? No, I think. But I'm just sorry. I'm trying to understand it from a viewpoint of someone with cognitive abilities that are not. We're all fortunate. We all are able to function as normal individuals, or we fall into that normal category. But you know, I'm thinking of individuals, you know, who have, like, I have a brother with special needs, you know, or people who have different cognitive challenges. And my observation is that we use, or often, to engage with these individuals, we use creativity. We use creativity to, you know, to help them learn to express themselves, and to help, you know, help them to learn to be able to communicate, and help them to learn, you know, to give them a whole other method of being able to just be heard or be seen, or to, you know, something that they can learn too. So there is a creativity is often considered therapeutic, because sometimes the cognitive dysfunction, for example, in autism, is they need to balance it somehow using kind of to help the sensories, you know, find a way to be able to kind of communicate externally, and creativity does that. Often, I'm not no specialist, but I mean, I can observe in my brother, he, you know, the different things that he's done to learn, because we did put a lot of effort into even teaching him to speak, even teaching him to kind of, you know, to help them be able to express emotion, everything like that. Creativity is expression. And it's an individual expression as well, because not one artist is the same. Not one drawing is the same or whatever. And I think as whether you have cognitive disabilities or, you know, or you're perfectly, you know, normal, everybody wants to express, and creativity is often that means of expression, whether it's through words, through voice, through imagery or craft or sculpture or whatever. But And then there's no cap on that. That's where it becomes limitless, and then it becomes, you know, many different types of creations.
So what I heard is that, you know, creativity is really important for people that way, to fully express themselves and maybe get through some of their other thought patterns. Maybe it breaks through certain thought patterns, because really, do you really think that creativity really doesn't, from my understanding, it doesn't always come from thought. It's more of like this, it comes from whatever, the divine inspiration that within,
I would agree with that.
and then the thought is more of a supportive act through it, or a witnessing act.
So it's a
through
tool.
it.
So I find if I'm drawing, and I can give from my own experience, when I was put under a lot of pressure when I was studying art or whatever at school, it killed my creativity in a way, because suddenly I felt confined into a particular set of criteria that I must present in order to obtain that exam. And so whilst, yes, I did well and I managed, but for me, the heart was missing from it. That extra oomph that made it something kind of that I could relate to from, from my heart, rather than, just following a thought pattern. Whereas often, you can sense in the words that you write, or the drawing that you create, or the piece of art, or whatever it is. Even, in the food that, if I'm making a cake and I'm in just it's all coming, or the meal that I create that I just kind of go off the cuff and, I'm just having a nice time. If it's on a deadline or I'm under pressure to do it, even the taste of the food is different. Or the result of the artwork is very different. Whereas if it just comes, it's like a meditation. Doing art and creativity and things like that, I draw a parallel with meditation, because what you're doing is you're placing your focus on something, that's not, that actually you haven't necessarily predetermined as a memory in your thought before. It's just coming, it's flowing from you to become something. Whereas a thought is working on memory, so it's kind of relying on what it knew before. Whereas if you're able to kind of tap in deeper and tap into kind of intuition and things like that, whatever comes out will come out, and it's just kind of working on evolving it into something creative.
Let's sum it up, because we started something, you have to stop it also. So let's say like this, if you create a pie chart, okay, of, just for the sake of it, how much percentage as we know on this planet, are we enjoying the gifts of the mind? Are we suffering because of the mind? How many people are really, oh wow, I love having this facility called mind, or it's unbearable, I can't sleep, I can't stop thinking. If we just have to speak from our experience, like the people we meet, our lives, how many people are really enjoying their minds?
Maybe 50-50.
Wow, that's a lot. Maybe I'm in my
a good circle.
very blessed circle.
It's just sort of like the yin and the yang, right? It's like, they're both present, the darkness and the light, and for whatever the purpose is, they're there, and people will choose them wherever they're at.
Right.
It's very kind of hard to decipher.
I mean, for me, I because I work in, people come to yoga for relaxation and, to get out of their anxiety and worrying. And personally, most of the time I find it's a nonsense, like I'm watching the fire, why the hell you have to talk? Trying to, but for me, just to give a number, just not like, for me, I see people suffering more because of this facility called mind than they're enjoying. Of course, enjoyment is an invitation, like to start exploring the mind, but sooner or later they're ending up in the ditch of overthinking, worrying, anxiety, stress.
Yeah, I think it's kind of building on a lot of what you guys have said, is that we're overloaded on things that require thought or develop thought more than other. And Gorny, when you said awareness is, it's like being more important than thought, because that's where you can make the choice of also what you said is, am I kind of let this thought go and kind of be, or do I need to think and build or analyze? And yeah, so that's where the suffering comes, is that we have more in our minds than we have in our body and in our play, because the principal transaction is load up on knowledge or information, dispense it in some way to someone else, and they'll give you something in return. And literally, no one else needs to talk to you, and you don't need to talk to anyone else beyond this transaction. You've done the stuff, you've paid for the basic needs, and then play is actually so optional that we'll suffer from its absence, and then we'll end up seeking places and communities and things, because we're like, I need to engage, I need to like use my body with a community, I need to participate in some way that is a different transaction, and it's not the thoughts, and it's not the thing, it's not asking me to graduate or have criteria or meet anything, but yeah, we're, it's like and the way we've built the neutral world that didn't really need it, we've built it so that if you don't transact with it in some way like that, you're kind of in the unprotected part of it.
I'd say you're same. I see most of people around me are suffering from thoughts, but I see the change as well. I see how people finding the right tools to not to help themselves. I don't want to use that word, but just to learn again how to use it, to discipline the mind. Yeah. So I see that there's a change happening around.
Is it like a state of mind that is inevitable? Like, is this part of the path of being on this planet? That
I think so too.
whatever that percentage is, right? And is it just default? Default goes to that mode because it is a form of survival. The mind, when it's on all the time, is often tied to the survival brain of how am I going to manage this situation. And it's shifted from maybe physical survival now to social survival. Like, how am I going to survive this office place and these characters here who are backstabbing everybody? And so we come to this like constant brain work of trying to figure out the social survival of a situation, and maybe even if you've been taught to dominate, how am I going to dominate this situation? Not just survive. And I think that's sort of.
And often I remind myself, like, who initiated the thought? Like, for me, there is a conscious thought, there is an unconscious thought. A conscious thought is, I brought it up. I know I'm going to use my mind, I'm sure of this. Conscious. Unconscious is, I don't even know that this guy is thinking. It's going on, and my body is responding. It's losing the fluids, it's giving the emotions. So oftentimes I bring this awareness, okay, what's going on? Just bringing the light and just see, okay. This brings a little bit of discipline to the mind, like I often use this metaphor like a class of children, okay? When the teacher is out, they're blah, 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 blah. When the teacher comes, that's it. Everybody's, but the same way, when we bring this awareness into the equation, the mind starts to function normally. This awareness is the key or the master of the mind. When we are not aware, it's going for its trip. So can we close this with a simple meditation?
Yes, let's do that.
Otherwise, we spoke about the thought
And then
a
we
lot.
can go for breakfast.
Yeah. Come on, Osho, for the breakfast. Okay. Let's take a moment to close the eyes. And just become aware. Start by observing the sounds here. Sounds that are close, sounds that are far away. Now become aware of the body. Become aware of the weight of your body. Become aware of the sensations in your body. Maybe you experience a stiffness, tension, anywhere. Now, follow the breath, which goes in and out without any effort. Now become aware of the sensations you might experience in the body, in your field. On your skin. How do you feel in this moment? Now become aware of the space within yourself. Maybe you can observe the space in between your ears, the distance between the ears, or the space in between your eyebrows. Just become aware of the space. Now notice who is observing this space. Divert your attention to the observer. This is being aware. Now see if you have any thought in this moment. Just be aware of your thought, if there is any. Now you'll open your eyes, but try to keep your attention in the observer while you do this. Like you're observing, and then slowly open your eyes. Now try to look at what you're looking at without any thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Namaste, Osho.
My show.
Thank you.
That's lovely, huh? How do we switch on this guy? Switch off?
Stop record.